Hey, folks, it's Rick. Listen, let's get something very, very, very abundantly fucking clear. Members of the U.S. cabinet are not and have never been God. They have never been inviolate. They have never been people who no one can address. When you saw her armed guards, her thugs, and I'm going to use that word, they're probably honorable guys who are thinking to themselves, you know, this is my job now, and they told me what I have to do, and I'm going to just follow orders. Through Alex Padilla, a United States senator, after he had identified himself as such, threw him to the ground, did the hand in the camera, and now DHS is tweeting, oh, he was trying violently to lunge at her. Get the fuck out of here.
Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
Many of our ICE agents have been docked.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you don't my hands, go ahead, put them behind my back.
All right, cool. Other hand, lay flat, lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here.
I did not know.
There's no recording allowed out here per FBI, right?
For what, I'm sorry?
There's no recording allowed out here.
That's my boss. I have to
There's no
record
recording
everything
allowed
for
out
us.
here. You can record. There's no recording allowed out here.
I'm not a member
There's
of
no
this.
recording allowed out here.
I understand that, sir, but
Every single one of you knows what's going on here. This is more authoritarian theater. And now they've crossed the line. Now you have the executive branch saying to the legislative branch, not only are we going to disregard anytime you're not obedient to us, now we're going to violently assault you if you attempt to hold us to account. In America, which you may recall we still live in America, there are rules of engagement. And sometimes politics is a tough business. Sometimes you have to answer questions to people you don't want to answer them. Sometimes you have to be asked questions in public you don't want to answer. And I get it that Kristi Noem doesn't believe that she's accountable to anyone. But I have some bad news for you, Kristi. You are accountable. And that's some bad news for the people working all up and down the chain at ICE and DHS and everywhere else. Right now, you think your dick is 2 feet long. You think you're 12 foot tall and covered in steel. You think nothing can touch you. You think Trump will pardon you when this is all over. You think there'll never be any accountability for doing the things that you're doing. You think that snatching American citizens off the streets is just fine. You think that handling American citizens without warrants, without ID, wearing masks is acceptable. Noem is going to the fucking Hague. You guys are going to have civil problems for the rest of your lives. You know what? Law enforcement does a tough job, and you guys do a tough job. But right now, you're doing it on behalf of people who will hang you out to dry. If you're a DHS officer, if you're a cop, if you're and frankly, even if you're a member of the military who's now been deployed against American citizens, you will be held accountable. This world will end. This Trump world will come to a close someday. You will be remembered for what you have done. There is not a world where you get to throw a U.S. senator to the ground, where you get to physically assault a U.S. senator, to violently assault a U.S. senator. Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. That world does not exist. Your names will become public, and rightly so. They're going to become public now, or they're going to become public during the Truth and Reconciliation phase of this show, and there will be one. One day, Donald Trump is going to walk out onto the Oval Office lawn, and that 57,000th Big Mac is going to take its toll. And when his rotting corpse is laying there in the hot sun of Washington, and this era where you think you have magical protection comes to a close, you will remember that just following orders has never worked out in the history of this world. Now, for you, Secretary Noem, I get that you are not terribly bright. You are not terribly cogent about what you're involved in. You love the theatricality of it. You love being the center of attention. You love having Stephen Miller's hand up your butt like a puppet. But you're going to be the one who hangs out to dry too. You're going to be the one who is going before a U.S. Senate committee sooner than later. And I got to tell you something. I've been around a long, long, long time. And there are few clubs in this world where the members of those organizations pull together across partisan lines. Man, you go at one of them, you go at all of them. And I got to tell you, I can imagine the conversations being had right now in the U.S. Senate. This is not going to go well for Team Trump and for Team Noem. It's not going to go well when you try to reframe this as, he violently lunged at me. Bullshit. There's video. We've seen it. He identified himself. Senator Padilla identified himself as he came in the room and was manhandled, physically assaulted, and thrown to the ground. And I don't care who the guys guarding you are. I don't care if they're DHS or FPS or FBI. It does not matter. You treat a United States senator with violence because you're confronted in public. What do you think happens to regular American citizens, folks? What do you think happens? This is one more signal of their intentionality about driving this as hard and as fast as they can, as far to the fascist right as they can. Just following orders, guys, is not an excuse, and it's not a reason, and it's not a protection, and it's not a shield. And I know you all think to yourself, oh, at the end of the Trump administration, Donald Trump will sign, every one of us will get a federal pardon just in case. He's probably not going to live to the end of the administration. He's physically unwell. You can see it. Whatever weird colostomy bag or leg brace or catheter he's wearing, combine that with the vocal aphasias, with the constant mental slipping in public, falling down the stairs of the airplane. All of this is going to add up to something that none of you are prepared to face. America is turning on this question right now. They are turning on this tactic you're using, particularly because at DHS and ICE, you have caught American citizens up in your net. You have caught legal residents up in your net. And you've treated them the same way as you would illegal and criminal. And there is a differentiation here, by the way, which you are aware of, because the number of criminals you're actually rounding up is de minimis, isn't it? Guys, this is a fucking example that America should pay attention to right now. If they are willing to physically assault, violently physically assault, and throw to the ground a United States senator, not one American should think for a moment they won't apply the same or worse force to you. As for U.S. senators, I know many of you are deeply, deeply, deeply in love with Donald Trump. And by in love with, I mean you're scared shitless of him. You don't want to get primaried. You don't want to get Trump mad at you. You don't want him to tweet bad things about you. For once in your goddamn lives, have a scintilla of moral courage and stand up and say something in public. Are you really going to sink your legacies with Kristi Noem and Donald Trump? It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. None of this makes any sense because his numbers are falling. His numbers on immigration are falling. His approval numbers are falling. His economic approval numbers are falling. And I know it's hard to pull that Velcro off. I know it's hard to strip away from your obedience to Trumpism that you've conditioned yourselves to do for the last several years. But you are clinging to a falling star. You are clinging to a methodology of violence and hatred. You are clinging to something the American people are rejecting. Get your shit together. The just following orders rule, by the way, it applies to you too, Republicans. If you saw Barack Obama doing this, if you saw Joe Biden ordering this, let's take a Goduncan experiment here. Let's do a counterfactual for a moment. Let's say Joe Biden had ordered DHS troops or ICE troops or ATF to go and start raiding white supremacist compounds in Idaho or Nebraska or Arkansas because he wanted to seize their guns, their illegally possessed guns. What happened? What would you do? What would you do? You'd lose your goddamn minds is what you'd do. You'd ignore the target and focus on the tactic. You'd ignore the facts on the ground and focus on the narrative. Right now, this narrative is impossible for you as Republicans to get out of. You are trapped with him unless you do something publicly. Folks, this is a day and a week we're going to remember for a long time. It's been a terrible week for this country. It's been terrible because of one man, well, two men really. Stephen Miller is, half a man at least. One man and his minions who are willing to use the military and to turn the power of the state against American citizens. And why? Because those American citizens are protesting a policy of this government. They are exercising their First Amendment rights. And the very, very small handful who engaged in any kind of violent activity are not the targets. They're after all of us. Fighting back is the number one thing you can do. Folks, no kings this weekend, because I get it, and I think most of you get it, that no kings means also no minions of kings running roughshod over everyone else in the kingdom. Thanks. Talk to you soon.